Slovakia brothers, my camera ran out of battery. I had to go get a charger real quick, but I'm back. So we left off round about Jeremiah 48, the 11th verse. Moab has been at ease from his youth, and he has settled on his leaves, and has not been emptied from vessel to vessel, neither hath he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remained in him, and his sense is not changed. So yeah, like I was saying before, because the Moabites, they have never dealt with adversity, at least not to the degree that Israel has. And in many cases, the rest of the world, they've always kind of been at ease, and so they always just assume that everything is going to be safe, and everything is going to be peaceful, and nothing bad is going to ever happen. For those of you that have ever lived out here among the nation of Moab, you'll know that this is exactly how these people think. They just can't fathom anything ever going wrong, and which is going to be to their destruction in the end. When things start to go wrong, they're not going to know how to deal with that adversity. And so, reading on, verse 12, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will send unto him wanderers, that shall cause him to wander. Those wanderers are talking about, how can I say, like, those different belief systems, right? So, they'll probably, how can I say, Moab is not a very spiritual people, but in that day, all nations from around the world, they're going to turn to their gods, whatever God that may be, and that's going to, in the end, glorify the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they're going to see that there's one people on the face of the earth that's not going through anything that they're going through, none of the hardships, none of the pestilences, none of the wrath that the Most High is going to spread on this planet. And so they're going to know that, oh wow, whatever God these people are attached to or surrender to or in submission to, that God must be the true God, because our God is not working the way their God is. Why are these people able to eat? Why are these people able to laugh? Why do these people seem relatively safe? It's because of the God that they pray to. So in the end, when everybody turns to their God of their nation, they're going to find out that we have Israel, the 12 tribes of Jacob. We're the ones who have the true God. And shall empty vessels and break their bottles, and Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh. Right, exactly. So running after these other gods to help them save themselves, what you're going to see is Moab give up all their goods for peace and safety. Their God is going to tell them, hey, if you do, or the people who speak for their God are going to tell them, hey, if you do this for the temple, or if you give that to the temple, the God will come and save you from what you're going through. And they're going to find out that none of it works. And at that time, they're going to be ashamed of the God that they believe in, because they're going to see that their God is not saving them. And that's God with a small g, not the capital G, not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, of the 12 tribes of Israel. As the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, their confidence, right? So the same way we were ashamed of the true and living power, they're going to be ashamed of the false God, right? And as it is spoken, that shall it be. Verse 14, how say we? We are mighty and strong men for the war. Yeah, how can you call yourself a strong man of war when you don't have a God backing you, right? They're going to question themselves, right? We don't even have a God. We can't call ourselves strong men of war, right? They're going to be ashamed of their God, because they know that whatever God you pray to is where you're supposedly supposed to get your power from. But they're going to find out in the end that there's only one true power of the universe. Moab is spoiled and gone up out of her cities. Yeah, so many Moabites, they're gonna give over all their goods and all their riches, all the treasures, all the things that they coveted. They're gonna give it all up for relative peace and safety. And that relative peace and safety is not gonna last long, because everybody's gonna be trying to get over on each other. Like I spoke of at the beginning of this video, this is a culture of people who try to get over on one another, you know, very deceitful when they do business. I've had my own experiences, and I don't want to get into it too much here, but you know, you can come here and get your phone fixed for cheap. Now, I've had problems with my phones before. You know, you drop a phone, the glass might break or something like that, or it just stops working, whatever. You come to get your phone fixed, and what they'll do sometimes is they'll switch out to, if your phone has a good battery, they'll switch your battery out and put an old battery in, right? And so, you know, they're very, very deceitful when doing business. Even on their own, even to their own people, even on their own Moabite social media sites. There's countless videos of how people have been taken advantage of, right? How Moabites have been taken advantage of by other Moabites. Like one of the things that's very, very prevalent out here is recycling food, or what they would call gutter oil, right? So a lot of times they just keep reusing oil over and over again, right? And it causes many people to get sick. You know what? One thing they don't talk about, you know, I remember back when I was in America, people always used to talk about, oh, you know, out in Asia, many of the Asian people, they're so healthy, they're this, they're that, they're this. You know, they have a high rate of cancer out here among these people. A high rate of cancer, a high rate of diabetes as well, too. So, you know, not everything is as it's said. You know, don't believe everything you hear. These people, they're not as healthy as you would think because of their practices. And they eat every damn thing. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hasteth fast. Yeah, so Moab, the Moabites, they're not going to be safe for much longer. You know, when as we see everything spiraling out of control between Israel, Iran, and the United States, and as more and more countries join in on the fight, it's going to lead to more and more countries being vulnerable to attacks and being open for flat-out destruction. And that's Moab is no exception. You know, this country that prides itself on its safety in that day is not going to be safe, and many of them are not going to be ready for it. All ye that are about him bemoan him, and all ye that know his name say, how is the strong staff broken and the beautiful rod? Right? Again, so, you know, China is known as a powerful country around the world, but in that day, their power is going to be broken. What is their power? Their economy. Like many countries around the world, Moab is known for having a strong domestic economy. Everything, most of what they produce, yeah, it gets shipped out to other parts of the world, and they make a lot of money that way too. But you have to remember, there's 1.4 billion people in this country, and a lot of their products get used by their own people. That's a strong domestic economy. And in that time, that's part of their staff, that's part of their power. That is going to be broken at that time. Good. So let's skip down to we can go to let's start around the 25th verse. This one really gets into it. There's a few other verses I want to jump into as well, but this one really hits home. Jeremiah 48:25. The horn of Moab is cut off, and his arm is broken, saith the Lord. Right. So the horn and the arm represent the power, right? Whatever power that is, whether it be their military, whether it be their economy, is going to be cut off in that day, because everything, as I mentioned before, the world economy is all connected like it's never been before in history. And so whatever happens in one country, or what happens in one kingdom, it's always going to affect the next kingdom over. So whatever happens in Europe, whatever happens in America, whatever happens in other countries that Moab does business with, obviously is going to have an effect on Moab, being one of the main exporters being one of the main countries that exports to the rest of the world, right? And so as the global economy continues to weaken, it's only going to weaken the domestic economy here. Verse 26, make him drunken, for he magnified himself against the Lord. Yeah, now see, this is one part that I really want to jump into. I don't want to get into my profession out here, but by what I say, you'll probably be able to gather. My students, we oftentimes have conversations, and I remember even in my office, talking to some of my coworkers, during COVID, the Most High, He had it to where while I was in the land where COVID jumped off at, I never got COVID, and it left many of my coworkers astounded. They were very, very, how can I say, very, very amazed and in awe. And then that awe led to envy and jealousy to a certain extent. So let me briefly touch on what happened here in COVID to bring this point home about the 26th verse of Jeremiah 48 to bring it all the way around. So during the time of COVID here in China, what they did was they set up testing sites where in order for you to travel, even from city to city or even from neighborhood to neighborhood, even if I wanted to go into somebody's building that was in the same neighborhood, I had to get tested. So anytime I wanted to move somewhere, you have to get tested. And if you test negative for COVID, you are immediately sent to the hospital. And during that time, I was still moving around because I had to work and I had to go to other places and I had to do different things around. Life doesn't stop, or life didn't stop for me. And so while I was moving around, I would get tested every day. And every day, if the test comes up positive, if your test comes up positive, you get sent to the hospital. And so every day I would get tested, even just to go to work. And my test would always come up negative. And I was always around people who one day they were fine, the next day you find out they have COVID. Now, what you have to understand about COVID is that the signs don't show up, or they didn't show up until 2 weeks after the person who had it, after they caught it or whatever. So it incubates for 2 weeks. So that means that I was around people who one day didn't have it because they get tested, and then the next day they have all these symptoms or whatever. So I was around people who had COVID the whole time. And let me tell you, the masks, they don't work. And so